Trevor Hold here. How you going? Welcome to the next episode of the Who Are We podcast series. For those that are just joining us, we're just exploring people's identity and who they are, and hoping to inspire others to take a look at themselves and participate in the journey of discovering themselves and to help out their own personal journey in life. So today I have a special guest, Sue Rogan. I'd like to welcome you to the show today. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
And just before we go, just got to get the disclaimer out of the way. This is a public video. We're recording this session, and we're going to publish it on YouTube and put some links on LinkedIn just to make it public and make it available to the public, just so people can listen and watch and hear your story.
Okay.
So we'll get straight into it. So who is Sue Rogan and what does she stand for?
I think this is such an interesting question, and it can be taken in many different aspects. So I'm so glad that you're doing this podcast and, you know, interacting with different people and their different perspectives and everything as well, because I just don't feel that there's one answer to it, you know, and sometimes people might resonate with what I have to say and they may not, and that's completely fine as well. So just a quick kudos to you. Well done for taking this subject and kicking it off and everything. I think identity is such a interesting topic. I mean, there's two ways to look at it, really. You can have identity in the form of attachment to things, you know, or your being or who you are, as in, like for me, I'm a mum and I'm a business owner and I'm a wife, you know, daughter, all these other things that I do in my life. But then on the other side, it's like, for me, I guess identity is more what makes these things up, like, or who I am, like as in my core values and what I stand for and what my beliefs are. And, you know, identity to some people might be religion, you know, or that sort of thing as well. So, but yeah, I think for me, it's more who I am and what I believe in and I guess owning that a little bit and honoring myself, my core values and everything that I was, I guess, raised to be. Like, I had an interesting upbringing. I was a military brat. I know we laugh about that term, but I was raised in the military. My dad was in the army ever since, you know, I was born. So I was just thrust into this world of moving around every 12 to 18 months, up and down the East Coast, all over Australia. And, you know, that shaped me and my identity. That shaped me and my identity. And then also just those life experiences that you encounter along the way. And I know people have their own story. So for me, I guess, yeah, moving around, the education system, you know, learning who I am, always having to be thrust into these situations and make friends and leave the friends and, you know, all of that sort of thing, kind of grew me, I guess, you know, so yeah.
That's interesting that that you say that you sort of had to rediscover yourself in different environments all the time, depending on who's new in your life and who you left behind, and having to develop them skills as a child. As a military brat is it's quite funny, but yeah, no, that's interesting.
Yeah, it is. And then as well, learning, I guess you get to learn people, you get to learn about people. So, you know, from a very young age, I got to learn about people and, you know, I guess their beliefs and what they stand for as well. But then I was I had teenage pregnancy, so I was pregnant quite young. You know, I'm still with my husband now, all these years later, which is great, you know. But then obviously, like, all, I guess for me, I was like always outside of those societal norms. So I wasn't raised in the typical household. And then I had this teenage pregnancy, so I had to raise the kids really young, and which is outside of like society. So I was always, I guess, outside of the box. And then when I started working, you know, I was a female in the construction industry, which back in those days, I guess I shouldn't show my age too much, but that was outside of. So I've just kind of throughout my life followed this theme of not sticking to what society believes they should, you know, and always being outside of the box and creating my own identity that way. So yeah.
Yeah, it sounds like to me that you didn't like, because I use the term a lot, and I don't like it either, but this society tries to pigeonhole people, and it seems to me that you didn't want to be pigeonholed. You just wanted to do what you wanted to do.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah, society does a pigeonhole, and you know, we always see these, and for whatever it is, like, you know, you'll see it through the ages of the magazines where society says that this is the attractive woman, you know, and then it changes. Like it used
Yeah,
to be blonde and thin, you
yeah,
know, and
yeah,
stick
yeah,
thin, and now we're
yeah,
like loving curves, and you know, and I
yeah,
guess yeah, that's, I guess, where people fall into the trap as well. Like if you try and fit in the box, then yeah, and then forget who you are and your own beliefs and what you stand for, then you'll just lose yourself. And I think that's as well where sometimes depression and things come into play too. And you know, the other thing is like just like honoring yourself and who you are and standing up for your beliefs, and like whether it be friends or family. If for me, I guess if something doesn't resonate with me, then I'm just happy just not to have it in my life. Like I'm easy to cut that, you know, or I'll say this actually doesn't serve me right now, and I'm
yeah,
okay not to have it, you
yeah,
know. So
yeah.
I
Yeah.
think
So it sounds like boundaries are a very strong part of you,
yeah,
and being aware of what you want, or what's benefiting you, and creating boundaries to protect, you know, to protect that part of you that you
yeah,
want is
and
is
like
is very strong. Yeah,
yeah, 100%. And you know, yeah, I'm fun and bubbly and stuff, and but when it comes to like people pleasing, you
yeah,
know, then that's when people fall into that trap. Or I'm okay, maybe because I grew up being thrust into these environments, I'm a bit more okay to take risks, as in leave jobs that don't serve me, or, you know, and people sometimes still get stuck in that comfort zone of like, okay, I'm not enjoying my role. What if I want to go and do something, but then what if I fail? Like there's all this, you know, but that's when growth happens, you know. So it's okay to go out and try new things and step outside of your comfort zone and be okay with failure, you know, as in like, you know, you're not a failure if you're
yeah,
growing and learning and changing and developing and honoring yourself and who you are. So I mean, this is all my perspective anyway. So
yeah. No, it makes a lot of sense, because I noticed, and I didn't mention it before, but I noticed in one of your opening remarks you were talking about having all these different hats on: your mother, your wife, your business owner, and female representative in a male dominant industry, and all these things that you are doing as being separate to who you are, not having that association. So if you find that some activity that you're endeavoring, it's not yourself failing as yourself, it's you just creating growth for yourself.
yeah, yeah. And I guess, like, you know, well, I'm a marketer, I have a marketing business. And as a marketer, we always look at things and then analyze and pivot, you know. So we're always like, okay, we'll try, you know, column A, and then analyze those results. And then if that doesn't work out, then, you know, you just go, okay, well, these are the learnings, and then let's retry this strategy or whatnot. So I think if we can apply that to life as well, like, say you do leave your job, and then say you do go to another one that you think you'll be good at, or you think you want to try, and then you actually don't enjoy it, you're still further ahead, you know, because you've had that learning and that growth and everything.
Yeah,
So and then I think when I was looking to start my business and I was still employed, you know, and I was thinking, okay, well, I know I'm not, sorry, the calls are through. So I was like, okay, I'm not happy. I know I need to sort of leave this situation. And then, but what do I want to do? And then it was more of a, for me, finding out like, I guess what I don't want to do. So I was like, here's something, and then it's like, and then I gave this a piece of advice to someone the other day when they were trying to find their why, you know, so they were challenged to go, okay, what's my why? And it's like, okay, well, maybe flip it and go, what don't you want to do? You know, because a lot of people know more what they don't want to do and then what they do, if that makes sense.
That resonates with me so much, because I spent 6 years of my young life doing an apprenticeship and getting a trade qualification, and I worked really hard to get that qualification and do that. But then at the end of it, the only thing I was really aware of is what I didn't want to do with my rest of my life. You know, so it's similar to what you're saying.
Yeah, but it's still growth and learning. Like, you know, if you, and then all that personal growth, like if you do go and study and do uni, you know, and it's, you finish a uni degree or whatever, and it's something that you don't want to do, there's still all that other maybe micro personal growth, like where you've cemented good habits, good study habits, maybe, you know, you've learned things along the way, or maybe you learned Excel, you know, that you didn't know how to use Excel, like all those things. So it's taking the small wins too and saying, okay, you know, so
a lot of it sounds like Sue does a lot of self-reflecting on these things and analyzes, probably because your marketing brain, I suppose, but you tend to be more positive side of failures rather than the negative side.
Yeah, 100%. And I don't think failure is bad. Like, I don't think it's a bad thing. And I know that, I think we touched on this earlier, is like being, for me, being selfish with who I am and what I want to do and what I want to achieve. And maybe I can look at things like down, you know, 5 to 10 years down the track and start saying, okay, well, this might happen now. But so the other thing is, like, people are a bit, how do I say this? You know, they're a bit more cautious about setting boundaries because people think that they're going to be seen as egotistical, but it's not. Like, if I go, okay, for me, this doesn't resonate with me, it's not good for me, it's not good for my mental health, whatever it is, I'll cut it. And it's not like from an ego point of view, it's just more like a positive side of being selfish, I guess.
It's interesting that, because if I said, well, I'll just use my name just because you know, if I says, oh, who is Trevor Hold? Well, Trevor Hold is selfish, then it's got that negative connotations about it, where negative things. But the way that you're seeing it is in a positive light. You're being selfish by promoting self-care on yourself and empowering a guilt-free way of creating boundaries to help look after you as a person.
Yeah, and it's like that whole you can't pour from an empty cup. You know, so if I look after me first, I'm so much better then to serve the world, you know, and my clients and everything as well. Like, I guess when I'm talking to clients on their marketing, there's, you know, that's their business that they're investing in. So I need to be available for them for that, you know, and if there's anxieties around that, or if they want to grow, or if they want to scale, or whatever they want to do, I need to make sure that my head is clear enough to be able to manage, I guess, both the strategic side with their marketing, but also that emotional side too for them, because that's their baby, like, and they care about that, and so do I. Like,
so the best way you can serve other people is by putting yourself first and making sure you're right to be able to give them 110%, or to give them full value of who you are.
And like, so the other week I took a day off, you know, and I just disconnected, I guess, being in the digital space as well. Like, I'm always mindful of making sure I get to disconnect. But I went and took myself on a bushwalk I took myself on a solo date, and it was just
yeah,
bliss.
yeah,
The best
yeah.
company I've ever had, you know? Like,
That's right. Can't argue with yourself.
exactly right. Best advice, but it was bliss. Just went and like just did a walk, and you know, I just told my clients, and they were fine with it. And then I'm so much better able to support them and what they need when I'm, you know.
So do you think, like, because that takes a lot of strength, and I can't emphasize that enough. It takes a lot of strength to be out, and I've struggled with it my whole life as well, to be able to say no and to set boundaries to help with your own internalness, you know, your own internal vibes or your family vibes, and saying no to someone is very difficult for me. And it sounds like you've got that down pat, down to define your boundaries and that sort of stuff. For that, what do you put that down to?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know that I've got it down pat. I think it's just like a constant consciousness that I need to make sure I have. Yeah, I think that's how I would put it. But then in some regards, yeah, like it's hard. Like it's really hard for me to do that, you know, and like you might get nervous, or, you know, your voice gets all croaky and all that, like, or like your handshake or whatever. Like, I remember there was a lady, I had a potential client, and she was so rude and so abusive, like it was awful. And then and there I knew, like, this is, you know, and then so like I said to her, thanks so much for the chat, but I don't feel we're the right fit, because I knew the ongoing relationship. Like, so to turn away that business, it was really hard, actually, you know, to actually say, you know what, I don't want this person's business. And then in a world
you need money, and you need to support yourself and
exactly.
your kids as well. So to create that, to say that is unbelievable.
And we weren't in I was not in a position to be turning away business. Don't get me wrong, you know, but you just have to, like, and just trust that something else will come up, or, you know, that, I don't know. It's just maybe a trust in the universe that it'll work out. Maybe it's a blind faith. I don't know. Maybe I'm doing it all wrong.
No, I think that's interesting, because it reminds me. And I think I mentioned in our early discussions too, that of a book I read, Who Moved My Cheese, where you just, if something's changed in your life, or you need to get changes, instead of whinging and whining or stamping up and down and it's not fair, it seems to me that you're saying you just reflect and pivot and move on to the next thing.
Yeah, and that was not an easy decision, like, or way. That's not been easy for me. Don't get me wrong. You know, especially when I first started business, and there's all these things that you learn, you know, so obviously, you know, there's all the tick boxes that you have, like you get your name, your business name, and all those other, like, you know, administrative things. And then there's all these other, like, and there's like an undercurrent of learnings, you know, and that was probably one of my big learnings, is like making the decision, like, because, you know, there was, when I wanted to invest in an office space, I was sitting there, and it must have been weeks on end where I was crunching numbers going, can I afford it? Can I not? Like, back and forth. And then I didn't make the decision, like, you know, and then someone had said to me, just make a decision. Like, you just need to, and I was like, okay. So yeah, it's not been easy at all. But, and it's just a constant reminder that we just need to do that, or sit back, or just take a moment. Like, if it's something that you need to think about, then I guess we just voice that and say, this is just something I need to think about. Give me a minute, you know, kind of thing. Like,
and that's the hardest thing, especially because a lot of people I've been talking to of late revolves around domestic situations, and setting that boundary to someone that stays close to you, or that's important to you, is even difficult, because you don't want to hurt their feelings, or you don't want to upset them, or you don't want them to think that you're selfish, even though you're using it in a good way. But all them things just makes it hard to set these boundaries.
Yeah. And there's like, a guilt associated. Like if you say no and something happens, then, people think, well, that's my fault because I set a boundary and then XYZ happened. And it's like, oh, did it happen because you set the boundary, or was it always going to happen anyway?
Yeah.
And you like kind of thing, which is awful, I know, but I don't know. And I know that we're in a space like at the moment, there's a lot happening, as in there's a lot of shades of black and grey,
Yeah.
and there's a lot happening in the world, and we're struggling and we want to be there to support each other
Mm.
too. So I guess we just need to find that balance between ourselves and making sure we do good on the world too.
Yeah. Yeah, and there was a saying, because I've done a lot of mental health, I've done a couple of years on suicide prevention, and one of the things there is obviously self-care, because when you're helping people and you get negative outcomes, it's very easy to take ownership of that. Oh, maybe I did something wrong or something, and it's really easy. But one of the things, and I think you used the term, you can't pour a empty cup, was the phrase that you used, but we used to use something similar at 30,000 feet when you're flying and you hit turbulence and the oxygen mask drop down. The first thing you're told to do is put oxygen on yourself. You can't help other people without the oxygen on, and that sounds to me very similar to what you're about, is
Yeah.
being the best version of yourself to be able to help people as much as you can.
Yeah, 100%. And that's such a good analogy, the oxygen mask, because
Yeah,
people
yeah.
can visualize it. But yeah,
Yeah, I used to have nightmares about. I used to fly a fair bit, and that was one of my biggest fears is having the oxygen mask drop. And then, but yeah, it is a good analogy. Yeah. So, no, well, thank you very much for your insights today. I really appreciate you spending the time, and it sounds like to me, Sue's a very resilient person, focused on being the best version of herself.
yeah. Thank you for having me. I
And
appreciate it. I
uh,
hope
uh,
it helps and people resonate with it.
Yeah, I'm sure they will. Have you got any last final words before we go? Or
Oh gosh, apart from setting boundaries and all the, I mean, we got pretty deep there as well. Um, No, just be yourself. Like own who you are. I'm an oddball and I love it. And whoever doesn't embrace that, then that's them. Like they miss out.
yeah,
Like,
that's great. That's good, and
yeah.
that's good.
So
And
just own.
it's been such a pleasure having you with us today. And again, I'd like to thank you for sharing your insights. And I'm sure a lot of people will take a lot out of this one. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
See
Okay.
ya.
See
Bye.
you.